Hello, this is Sadlier Level D, Unit 3A. So, our first word for this unit is abridge, which is a verb that means to make shorter. So, your synonyms are shorten, condense, and abbreviate. So, you can abridge something. Usually, you think of it less literal, like you're not taking a piece of paper and abridging it by cutting it in half, but you can shorten the distance of something. You can shorten the length of a book. I think of a bridge because it would be a shorter drive if you could just take a bridge from one point to the other. Your antonyms are expand, enlarge, and augment. Your other forms of the word, abridged, abridges, and abridging, are your other verb forms. And abridger is your noun form. And in that image there, you can see we are abridging the length of certain words by abbreviating them. We are shortening them. We're using the letters to make acronyms, whatever the case may be. And my sentence, I had my students read an abridged version of Romeo and Juliet so it would be easier to understand and faster to get through. It was a shorter version of the play. They cut some lines, they cut some scenes down, so they abridged that text. I do the same thing with my plays when I take the text of a play and I shorten it so that we know we can do that performance in a set amount of time. Our second word for this unit, you might be familiar with it, is altercation, which is a noun. It is an angry argument. Now be careful, altercation is not a verb. It's not an action. You can't altercation with someone. You can have an altercation. You can be in an altercation. Something can cause an altercation, but it's not going to be used as an action. It is a thing. Your synonyms are quarrel, dispute, and squabble, all of those being used as the noun form. Your antonyms are agreement and accord, and your only other form is the plural noun form altercations. And you'll see in that picture, we have two people who are having an altercation. They're saying some terrible, terrible things to each other. And in my sentence, Mr. D and I got into an altercation, a thing, over which class was better, math or English. And it ended with a real fight. So we were arguing about things, and then we got into a real fight about it. So just make sure you're using altercation correctly based on the part of speech and what form it needs to take in your sentences. Our next word is dissent, which is both a verb and a noun. It's one of those two parts of speech words, but they're very, very similar. So hopefully this will be easy to keep track of. The verb form is to disagree. So the action of disagreeing. I am dissenting to your opinion, to what you have said. The noun form is the disagreement itself. We had a dissent when we were arguing about whatever the case was. So you can have an altercation, there can be a dissent, or you can dissent with a person. Your verb synonyms are differ and dispute. Your noun synonym, as a word I always mispronounce, unanimity. I think I got that right. Your verb antonyms are agree and concur, words that would mean you agree with someone, obviously. And your other forms are your other verb forms of the word, dissented, dissenting, and dissents. My picture is a sign saying no. And then I have two sentences. My first one is the noun form. So when the school wanted to only serve cold soup for lunch, I made sure they knew about my dissent, my disagreement, the thing. The verb sentence, the students dissented against the gross food. That is the action form. That is the actual them disagreeing. So be careful how you're using that word. Our next word is eminent, which is an adjective. And I have students that tell me all the time they remember the meaning of this word because they like Eminem, and he is very eminent. It means famous, outstanding, distinguished, or projecting. Your synonyms are illustrious and renowned. Your antonyms are nameless, unsung, lowly, and humble. And the noun form that I've listed is not necessarily the exact same root of the word, but it's a word you might be familiar with. The word is eminence. It's a noun. So you could think of the phrase your eminence, which is how you greet someone who is royal. It's because they are very distinguished. And obviously, I'm going with my buddy William Shakespeare right here. William Shakespeare is an eminent playwright, and we still study his works today. So I've given you the beginning of my sentence, and you could use the same. So and so is an eminent, and then tell me what it is that they do. And then give me your context for why they are so famous or distinguished or outstanding or renowned or illustrious. Are they, award winning? Does everyone know who they are? Make sure you include really good context there. Our next word is fabricate, which is a verb, and this can be used as physical or like a mental situation. It's to make, manufacture, to make up, or to invent. So you can fabricate an actual item, but you could also fabricate a story or a lie. So it doesn't have to be something physical. Your synonyms are put together, devise, contrive, and concoct. Very fun word. Your antonyms are take apart, undo, destroy, and demolish. Your other forms of the word, we've got those other verb forms: fabricates, fabricated, fabricating. And then the person doing the fabricating is the fabricator, noun form. And then my sentence is about a lie that you might make up. After they broke her lamp, the students fabricated a story about a wild chicken being caught in the classroom and knocking it over. That's a lie. They made that up. They invented it. Next word I think you might be familiar with is irate. It's an adjective and it's just a really great synonym for angry. But if we're thinking about diction and connotation, irate is a little bit higher up than angry. It's very, very angry. Your synonyms are incensed, infuriated, and livid. Your antonyms: calm, composed, cool, and unruffled. Your other forms: irately, ly ending for the adverb form. Irateness, ness, is our noun form of the word. That is a very irate gentleman in our picture. And our sentence: true story. When students don't read the material and instead Google the answers, I become irate and I cannot be calmed down. I want to know what you think, not what some rando on the internet thinks. It's better for me to know what you're thinking. Next word is pauper, which is a noun, and it is an extremely poor person. Synonyms and antonyms are kind of funny for this one because it's Sadlier. So destitute person, meaning someone who is poor, is your synonym. And your antonym, I guess the opposite of an extremely poor person, Sadlier has told us, is a billionaire, which is true, just kind of a weird antonym. Your other forms: paupers is the plural noun form. Pauperism is another noun form, not quite as common. And that picture is from a Disney version of a story that my sentence is about. The Prince and the Pauper is a story about two people who look alike and switch places. A prince has to live with no money while his double gets to experience all that money can buy. So that was the Mickey Mouse version of the Prince. That's on the right, and the Pauper on the left. Our next word is semblance, which is a noun. This one's kind of the weird word of the unit. It means a likeness, an outward appearance, or an apparition. So if something is seemingly something else, you could say it has a semblance of whatever that may be. Your synonyms are air, aura, and facade. Your antonyms: dissimilarity, contrast, or total lack. Semblances is our plural noun form. And then my picture and my sentence go together. Think it back to COVID a couple years ago. The cardboard cutout fans at sporting events during COVID offered a semblance of normalcy for the players and the Philly Fanatic. So it offered the outward appearance of a normal game, even though those are not real people sitting in the seats. Maybe you're really good at giving a semblance of a dedicated student who's paying attention when really you're not paying attention to anything that's going on. Pay attention to what's going on. Next word is terminate, which is a verb. It means to bring to an end. You could terminate a video call. You could terminate a conversation. You could terminate a test. You could terminate a person if you're the Terminator. Your synonyms are conclude, finish, and discontinue. Your antonyms are begin or commence, so the beginning of things, versus synonyms, the end of things. And your only other forms are your other verb forms: terminated, terminating, and terminates. The Terminator is a noun form. That is that movie from the 80s. And then my sentence: I terminated my cable service, and now I only use streaming services and the internet to watch TV. True story. A lot of people have terminated their cable services and don't get real TV. Or they may have terminated their landline phone and now they only use cell phones. And then finally, our last word for this unit, it's quite a fun one. It is usurp, which is a verb that means to seize and hold a position by force or without right. People can stage a coup and usurp the throne or usurp the presidency or usurp a position of power and take that away without the actual right to do it. Your synonyms are seize illegally or supplant. Your antonyms: there are none at all. You have your other verb forms as usurping, usurps, and usurped. The usurper is the person who is grabbing that position without right, and usurpation is the actual thing, the act of it happening. My picture, obviously someone is grabbing a crown, they are taking it. And then my sentence, obviously a true story. Don't tell him. When Mr. Gellert was absent one day, Miss Beck tried to usurp his power and change the rules about lunch and recess for high school teachers. So our building principal was out, so I tried to usurp. I tried to steal all his power without the permission to do it. And I was going to make sure we had really long lunches and recess for the teachers, not for you guys, just for me. And with that, we are wrapping up Unit 3A for Level D of Sadler.